Hey y'all, so real quick, one day I was in a meeting and I heard a guy say, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Now, when he said that, immediately I caught that, like, oh, that's good. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Now, we live in a time where men and women like to refer to themselves as kings and queens. Oh, I'm a king or I'm a queen. I'm this, I'm that. But I don't think people really count the cost to have that title. People don't count the cost to wear the title of king. People don't count the cost to wear that title as queen. Now let's dive a little deeper into that. When you think of a king or when you think of a queen, you think of someone who is royalty. You think of someone with great leadership skills. You think of someone who is heavily praised. You think of someone who is courageous. You think of all the good qualities of being a king and a queen. You thinking of the nobility behind the title king and queen. But you don't count the cost that also comes with the title of king and queen, because there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. See, when you call yourself a king or when you want to refer to yourself as the queen, you're only thinking of the positive attributes. But you don't think about the king when, or I'll start off because I'm a woman, I'll start off the queen. You don't think about the queen who, say for instance, like chess, right? The queen is considered the most powerful piece on the board because the queen can move in any direction. The queen can move vertically, horizontally, diagonally. That's the only piece that can do that, right? So when you think of a queen or when you think of a woman who's about her business, you don't think about the fact that that queen has issues, that queen has burdens. Say, for instance, if this queen, this quote unquote queen, is a single woman, she has to go to bed at night, not having her king next to her. She has to, you know, deal with the burden of being the Miss Independent woman, doing things for herself, not necessarily because she want to, but because she's in a season and a time where she has to. Why? Because her king has not found her yet. So this queen is powerful all by herself. But you don't think about the queen who may cry herself to sleep because she's raising little princesses and little princes as a single mother. You don't think about that king who has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and maybe he don't have his queen yet, but he has the weight of the world on his shoulders. He has to go out and be courageous. He has to go out and be a provider, even though he might not have anyone that he is necessarily responsible for, but he's a king, right? He look at himself as a king. He look at himself as royalty. He has to be courageous, you know, going out, living this world and trying to survive and trying to succeed when everything is being thrown up against him for him to fail. But he's a king. You have many queens who are battling spiritual warfare to protect their family. Again, in the game of chess, the queen is possibly the most powerful piece on the board because she can move in any direction. You have many queens who are behind the scenes fighting for their kings. They're fighting for their princes. They're fighting for the little princesses, right? They're doing all these things. These are good women, godly women. What does God consider us? a royal priesthood, right? He looks at us as royalty. When you consider yourself a child of the Most High God, you consider yourself a child of the King of all kings and the Lord of all lords, you are what? Royalty. So that means we can't be out here acting any kind of way. We can't be out here doing whatever it is we want to do. We can't be out here acting less than royal, right? Because why? We are kings and queens, right? You're raising princesses and little princes. We can't act any kind of way. There's a standard. When you are of the monarchy, when you are a royal priesthood, there's a certain standard that we have about ourselves, right? But even with the good kings and queens, there is a such thing as bad kings and queens. There's a such thing as, you are a king or a queen in title only, in bloodline only, but you're horrible. You're not only horrible to your family, but you're horrible over the people that you're supposed to be, quote unquote, ruling over. People don't count the cost of calling themselves a king and a queen. I know nowadays when you hear somebody referring to themselves as a king or a queen, they automatically think that they're good. But again, there's a such thing as a bad king and queen. Case in point, I'm a believer, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, so I can always, equate things to the Bible. But here it is, you have King Ahab and Queen Jezebel, who God called wicked. They were possibly the most wicked king and queen in the whole Bible. In fact, they were the most wicked. The king usurped his authority to his queen, his woman. Yes, the queens are powerful, but the king is also the head. Don't get it twisted. The queen is powerful, but the king is the head. And in this situation, Ahab was weak. Jezebel did all the dirty work for him behind the scenes. Here it is, you have someone by the name of Saul, Israel's first king was Saul. And he was handsome, he was tall, he was this and that. And he had children, which was, the princes and the princesses. Just so happened, Saul developed a hatred. And it wasn't really necessarily hatred, it was jealousy towards the future king, David. But his son, Jonathan, was best friends with David. The Bible says that their souls were knitted together. I don't understand how people don't believe in soul ties when the Bible gave us an example right there. Two guys, and no, they were not gay. They were just best friends. Their souls were knitted together. Count the cost of wearing the title of the crown. Count the cost of the crown. This prince was best friends with his father's enemy. Count the cost. This prince, my father is the king. I'm the prince. And I'm best friends with the future king. I don't think Jonathan knew that David was the future king. My father has issues. This is an innocent man. This is a man after God's own heart. Count the cost. With the title of king and queen and prince and princess, there's a certain kind of loyalty that is expected. Case in point, Jonathan, he's the prince. He's the son of the king. But his father wasn't right. His father wasn't right. His father had jealousy towards David, an innocent man. Count the cost. Who are you going to give your loyalty to? Your father, the king? Or to your best friend, unbeknownst to you, the future king, the man that is going to take your father's spot? Jonathan was loyal to David. Count the cost. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. A lot of foolishness comes with the title of king, queen, prince, and princess. A lot of foolishness. David had to go through a lot of foolishness. Yeah, he was big and bad. That was a bad man. He was meaning bad as in good. He was a great king. But a lot of foolishness came along with it as well. He had his own children turn on him. He had his own children trying to take the throne from him. There was a case in which they went out to war, and I can't remember what happened right now, but their wives were taken. Their children was taken. David's included. David's children was taken, and his wives and concubines were taken. And all the men of valor, all the men and all the families, they turned against David. Oh, just a few, years prior, they were singing his praises when it was all good, when he was slaying these men, he was killing these men, he was fighting off their enemies. But on this one occasion, when David underwent a sneak attack and his wife and his kids was taken, they wanted to stone and kill David. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. You know this man is a mighty warrior. You know this man is a man of honor. You know that God is with this man. But when you're under attack, when you are, faced with the biggest crisis of your life, your children and your wife are taken, David's included. Heavy is the head of the one that wear the crown. This is the king, and he's going through like everybody else, but now they're turning on him because they're affected as well. What are you going to do? Here it is. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Now this heavy burden is on you as well. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Another case, Esther, who notoriously called a 3-day fast, a 3-day dry fast. All the women, the men, the children, and even the animals, nobody can eat or drink for 3 days. Because why? The enemy was planning an attack. The enemy was trying to kill all of her people. Now, mind you, she's right there with the king. You have enemies that had infiltrated the camp. You had enemies that had infiltrated the royal kingdom. And she was made privy to it. Because why? God always has someone that will get a message to you. When God needs a message to be brought to you, he will always find a way. And her cousin / her uncle, because he raised her, told her what the enemy was planning on doing. Not only was the enemy planning on wiping out her people, but I believe it was a plot against the king as well. Heavy is the head of the one who wear the crown. You have to be strategic. You can't be so emotional. You can't, fly off the handle. You have to know how to fight spiritually. You can't be too emotional. Because why? You're royalty. There's a standard of how you fight, especially when you are a child of the Most High God. We don't get dirty. We get dirty in the spirit. We get violent in the spirit, not in the natural. But sometimes it comes down to that. Heavy is the head of the one who wear the crown.